I was adopted by my mother and lived in Woodinville, Washington. Moved there in 5 days old in 1968, and had a pretty active childhood. I was a happy kid. My mom became pretty lonely, and she had invited a boyfriend to live with us, and he was a terrible alcoholic, and he nearly killed me one night. Um, he broke an electric guitar over my head, and I left the house that night and ended up in the hospital. And one of my friend's mothers took me in, and I lived in a trailer in their backyard for the rest of my teen years. I never did go back home at all. So then I met my wife. She went to Lake Washington High School here in Kirkland, lived right there on Rose Hill. And then I became a commercial fisherman in Alaska, and spent 14 years up there working on the Bering Sea. We had a pretty more normal life, except I after leaving high school in the 10th grade and going to work, when I came home, I spent a lot of time drinking and partying. I had an apartment. It seemed like a big party at the time, and we were just having fun as kids, and I never imagined that that level of addiction would eventually compromise my life the way it did. And so my wife and I had our problems. I was always out running around at night while she was raising the kids. I was already using drugs every time I came home. After 14 years of working in Alaska, I got hurt up on the Bering Sea, and I shattered a couple of vertebrae in my back. Seeing a doctor and getting a lot of pain medication prescribed to me, far more than I should have ever been given. Eventually lost our home, all our vehicles, put everything we owned into storage, and I went right back into addiction, full force, and I lost everything. And my wife and I moved into a tent in the woods up on 128th and Everett, and we spent almost a little over 9 years there together. At that point, we'd been married 29 years, and I'll tell you, the experience of living in the woods like that, like an animal, was just simply terrifying. And there were some really violent, terrifying events that happened. But, as drug addiction does, it allows you to compromise every moral and everything about your existence to have to feed that addiction. And spent many I was incarcerated 60 times into the Snohomish County Jail. Generally theft charges, drug charges. And then my wife was out there all alone, living in the woods by herself the entire time while I'm locked up. And she believed in me. And she believed that one day I would straighten up, And unfortunately, we were married 29 years, but I never did get that done in time. Towards the end of the 9.5 years that we were out there, the police finally came. So the police were accompanied by a social worker. And they would go around in the wooded areas and talk to addicts and facilitate treatment. That meant for almost everybody, it did for us, we didn't have ID, we didn't have insurance, we didn't have medical anything. So they had to literally come dozens of times to transport us to get our driver's license, to go and or an ID, and then to go and get set up with insurance, and then to have the assessments done, then detox, and then eventually off to inpatient treatment. And so my wife, she went first, and that was the last time I ever spoke with her. And, we were really close. So after 29 years of marriage, with somebody that you consider your best friend, when the police arrived with divorce papers and a no contact order, I didn't have a leg to stand on. I'd earned that. Because I did. I made some terrible mistakes, both with my life and hers, and I made a lot of promises that just were never held up. Even after 5 tries at inpatient treatment, I just couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It just seemed so overwhelming. And I'm so grateful today. There were some social workers involved that wouldn't allow me to give up because I tried. And I owe that woman my life. And, I realized that for some reason God gave me an opportunity and that I better take it. So that's exactly what I did, and I've been clean ever since. And it's been a long journey. And the judges that used to sentence me to jail they eventually asked me to come in and work with this lady. It's called the TAP program, and she has gotten all of my felonies dismissed, all of my charges erased, and when I complete this program, I won't have a felony record. The judge gave me back my license. I had $14,000 worth of fees and fines associated to get my license back, and he took all that away without even asking, and he gave me my license, and been able to buy a car and start working. I've been working for about 2 years now for myself, and I do pretty well. But homelessness was no picnic. We did a lot of really, really bad things. Like boosting from stores, to survive. We literally stole food every day for 9 years. So there's a lot of amends that still need to be made. And that's the reason that I'm willing to do whatever that I can do to help anybody else that's in that situation. And I do. I'm pretty active in a lot of areas of service. If I could give any advice to kids, it's just don't get started. Just don't start it at all. Like, I lost almost 30 years of my life. And there's just so much suffering. And thankfully I have just a wonderful support system and people that believe in me, and there's been a lot of them, right? Like, it took an army to get me here, and I'm grateful to them all.